where we could have a meeting of 400 people in KZN. Once MKP came, that number became 60. So we lost a seat and a half to 2 seats in eThekwini alone. Some of our people, we saw them wearing MK thingy at campaign stops, at shopping centers and so on. They greet and they're like, hey, hi, man, hey, we see man. What issue is MKP driving with their 54, 57 MPs?
They're fighting each other.
South Africa's electoral system allows for dual membership.
Okay.
It allows for dual membership. So you can be a member of Good and a member of Unite at the same time.
So you can be a member of MK and be a member of the ANC. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that one coming. I must say, I didn't see that one coming.
Okay, can we expect any of the leaders of these people who are uniting for change to be mayoral candidates?
No.
But we see the contest for Joburg. It's getting very, very seriously.
I can give you some clues. I haven't said this anywhere. Parliament is a TikTok account because of me. I engage with the public directly a lot of the time. And yesterday I had about 1,800 people on TikTok talking about the budget.
Oh, wow. How deep is the road?
It's deep. It's very deep.
Is it salvageable?
I think our final chance is 2029.
You had so much presence, yet the performance of the party, I think that it was low. Were you disappointed with the outcome?
We're disappointed with the outcome, and I can speak to the influencing factors.
Is Rise Mzansi a viable alternative for South Africa? Welcome to the Brutally Honest Conversations with me, Brutus Malada, on the Sunday World SW podcast. Today we're having a conversation with Songezo Zibi, the founder and leader of Rise Mzansi. He's an honorable member of Parliament. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm getting older much faster than I thought I would.
Is that how bad politics is?
That is how tough the job in Parliament and politics is. Yeah, you age very fast.
Yeah, I mean, look at Barack Obama.
Yeah.
He got in as a young man, and when he got out, it was very clear that he was bruised. But you still look young. Look, we're going to talk about various themes, and it's a conversation. Which we used to do. We used to debate a lot with Songezo. He was once a member of the Midrand group with some fellows and I. But let's get to it. How would you characterize the state of our politics?
So I have to be honest, but also careful.
Be
at
brutally
the same
honest.
time. No, because, politics in South Africa is in deep trouble, by the way. Politics is in deep trouble for various reasons. So people complain about, the drama in Parliament and how useless politicians are and that kind of thing. And we can get to that because I work in Parliament. I work with both good and very disappointing people in Parliament. But I also think there is a political and ideological muddle that has happened, right? Because politics evolves, and what you understood to be progressive politics is very often reactionary politics. So let me give you an example.
Please celebrate.
People who might say I'm progressive because I want black economic empowerment are also xenophobic and advocate for extrajudicial measures to be taken against immigrants. So you can go and accost people on the streets and shoot them.
Yeah, but some of them would say we are not ideologues. We are being pragmatic on a particular issue. We will adopt this kind of a posture on this.
Let me get to the point. I agree with you, by the way. So let me get to the point I'm making. So there was a time when if somebody has progressive politics, you could make certain assumptions about them on a number of issues. Now you can't. The same people who are progressive hate women. They are misogynist. If you are progressive, you cannot be misogynist.
Are you willing to give examples?
Yeah. So the politics of the politics of, and I won't use politicians. I'll use like people that I know, right? People who are black nationalist, right? We believe in the black agenda, first of all. Secondly, we believe in transformation. The same people will say women have slept their way to the top. You understand? That's a misogynistic thing that you are saying. The equalization of pay and everything between men and women is a source of grievance. The things you see on social media about gold diggers and baby mamas and that kind of thing from deadbeats, and the violence that gets used in words, right, against women from people who at another time are complaining about white monopoly capital. You can't make the assumption that this person is progressive. You understand? They're not. So what I'm trying to say is, because of that, the traditional ideological lines and things that you could assume are not there anymore. Right? And I'm using these three things as an example.
So the lines have been blurred.
The lines have been
Maybe
blurred.
it's because, politics, and ideas, they are in constant state of flux.
What makes MKP progressive, Brutus?
Yeah, but who has called MKP?
They're part of the progressive forum, a caucus in parliament. What's progressive? No, tell me.
Yes.
You get me.
Yeah.
So you've uneasy on the constitution. You say the kind of things that get said by your leader about women and that, and you are progressive. What makes you progressive?
We're using these labels loosely.
That's what
we are using these labels loosely. But let's. What would you consider to be the main problems that are affecting our politics, both at the level of ideas and at leadership?
In fact, let's bring the two together, Brutus, right? Because there are therefore certain things that are understood to be progressive, right? That from a policy perspective, you are supposed to do. So you will hear things such as if you involve the private sector in anything, it's counterproductive. It's not progressive. It's going to lead to all manner of things. And people say this on the basis of being leftist, right? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, you also have people who do not have the capacity to properly understand the complex problems that they're dealing with. And so let me make a practical example. So Eskom needs over 500 billion for transmission. Transnet needs, in the next 3 years, 120 billion just to meet its basic mandate. The government does not have that money.
Yeah, they must go and borrow.
The government does not have that money. No, the borrowing room is not there. We're paying 1.2 billion rand a day in interest. So the money is not there. So the Transnet is not functioning. We're not able to transport electricity from new energy sources somewhere else. If we borrow more, then we're paying over 500 billion potentially per year, just interest on debt, right? So now we are stuck. So you've got these on the basis of the fact that we are progressive. We would not take a strategic decision to say we need to move on to strategic ownership of assets, which means the state no longer owns 100% of everything. The state owns 55% or 60%, which is still a controlling stake, by the way. But you don't have 100% of the risk when you need to bail out this thing and invest in it and take money from kids who need internet in their schools.
So those who consider themselves progressive are actually not open to this kind of conversations.
They're not open to this kind of conversation, and therefore they stunt economic and national development as a result.
Yeah, I think it's dogma.
Of course.
It's dogma. Because if you think of the so-called great, your Asian tigers. You think of China, you think of Japan, you think of Korea, South Korea, and you look at the model that they've been using. They have
in China, by the way.
Yeah, and China. These are countries that have got, historically, they would be characterized as the left. And China is worse because it's actually led by the Communist Party. Now, you're finding a way in which they are operating their economy. It's a mixed economy. They are nationalizing, but they are engaging capital. Yeah. So South Africa, where we are, if we continue to have these ideologues who want us to be stuck
in ignorance,
yes, then we won't make that progression.
I propose that part of the reason for the dogma is ignorance. It's an unwillingness and sometimes an inability to deal with the complexity of where we are now. So it's easier to say no because I don't understand this new thing that you are proposing. I don't understand it, right?
But is it not also because the very same politicians who are stuck in this, dogma, they realize that it's easy to sell that to the public. It's not so easy though to sell the other ideas. So they realize that they can fool the public and say, we want ownership, we want nationalization, we want, what is this, the issue of the mines. We want to expropriate land without compensation and so on. It's easy to sell such ideas to the public, but practically it won't generate the growth that you need to increase employment and everything else. But it's easy to sell to the public.
That's part of the problem. But let me tell you also from first-hand experience, and I will give you an example, and you go and watch it on YouTube. Okay. Ignorance is a part of it. There was an all-day conversation in one of the committees in Parliament with the banking sector about why banks are not using their assets to develop the economy. You've heard that?
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what a bank asset is? A bank asset is the car that the bank is financing, that you own. It's your house on which you still got a bond. It's your business loan. That's a bank asset because they've borrowed you somebody else's money, by the way, depositor's money, and you are going to pay interest. So as long as you haven't fully paid that loan, it's the bank's asset. Yes. A bank, Malada, cannot take your car and use it for the economy. It's with you. The whole day. They operate on this misconception. The entire day, not 9 until 1, until 6:30 p.m. Do you understand? So, yes, there is dogma. Sometimes there is just lack of understanding, and therefore the dogma becomes the refuge. Because you don't have the capacity or the willingness, like I said, to explore what does this concept mean. And if I want to apply progressive politics to this, how do I work with this system such that I achieve progressive outcomes? It's what Roberto Mangapera Unga says we should do. What the left should propose, and leftists, some leftists never want to go there because you're asking them to learn new concepts. So that's my observation.
So we have a challenge of dogma, but in the main, it's a challenge of ideas.
It's a challenge of ideas. It's a challenge of ideas, a challenge of the depth of knowledge, because you can't spend a whole day on a misconception, Malada. Come on. You got to have a real conversation. You understand? You can't. Somebody else proposed that the PIC's assets must be liquidated, so that money. So which means you engage in a massive sell-off of the shares that the PIC owns.
The PIC, it's actually
on the JSE.
Of,
That's another point of ignorance, by the way. You see what I'm going. But let us assume there's a massive sell-off. When there's a massive sell-off, a share that was worth 10 Rand very quickly becomes worth 7 Rand. Do you know who would pick up those shares on the cheap? It's the Johan Rupert's. And then later on, the same person complains about transformation. Do you understand this ignorance thing that I'm explaining? So
Yeah.
you can't underestimate it.
So it's a pity that the ignorance that you are describing, and I I was curious to want to understand whether you were ascribing that to the general public, but it would seem from what you're
Decision
saying,
makers.
it is the very same political leaders who are supposed to give a vision for South Africa. They are actually ignorant. They don't have the depth of this knowledge, and the examples you are using are quite very clear. Yes, I was going to say leadership. It's one thing, but ideas is something else. You penned a book, the manifesto, a vision for South Africa. Do you think those ideas are adequate now, with the benefit of your experience as now an active politician in Parliament? What else would you want to propose in addition to what you already penned?
No, I actually at this stage, not much. I'll tell you why, because the problems that I dealt with are very fundamental, right? I mean, chapter 2 of the book is Lessons from America, where I'm drawing parallels between the US and us, and that constitutional systems need reviewing. Because if the constitution is not responsive to your environment, it will soon, bad actors will run rings around it and never be constitutionally non-compliant. But they use it to destroy, right? So you've seen Trump. So the constitution doesn't say a president may not behave in a certain way. So he behaves like that, and there is no law that says he can't.
Yes.
That's what. Let's bring it home. One of the things I deal with in the book is the 3 spheres of government. That there are certain assumptions we make about the ability and the competence of people at local government level. So even when national government can see that they're busy destroying, you can't do anything. And every year, Parliament allocates money to those same guys in terms of the Division of Revenue Act. Right? Shouldn't we relook that system?
Yeah, but there are
Given-
provisions for intervention, for provincial and national intervention.
I am looking
your section
so
100, your section 139 allows for intervention by national government. Maybe the problem is that even the national government has no capacity
it's not a capacity thing. When everything's fallen apart.
Yes.
So it's an emergency intervention. So let us take the city of Johannesburg as an example. Right? The city of Johannesburg is the commercial, economic, cultural, and sporting engine of South Africa. Okay. The people that have been running the city of Johannesburg for the last decade have destroyed it. Okay? In my view, and I'm sitting with the audit outcomes right now, so there's possibly only 2 entities that don't have a red, sort of the worst possible sort of audit classification out of the city of Johannesburg, including the city itself. The city hasn't collapsed, but I can tell you, if we were to start discussing those in detail, should have been put under administration a long time ago. But it can't, because it has not yet collapsed. It must collapse first. Rustenburg is one of the wealthiest towns on planet Earth, with vanadium, chrome, palladium, etc., right? Platinum. It's a dump. You've been there. It should look different. The government cannot intervene because it has not yet collapsed. Here's my thing. How do we write our laws? Do we wait for collapse? Or should we write them differently? So the whole point I'm making is these reviews can't take place every 50 years. Statutes have got to be responsive to the problems that you're dealing with. Otherwise, what's the point of having them?
But come to think of it, I think the dominance of one party through the 3 spheres of governance that you described has probably contributed to the to the challenge, because when Panyaza is the premier and has to intervene in the city of Joburg, there are political dynamics in the party that will come into play, because he will be actually punishing a mayor who
may be from his
faction. And then it becomes a game of, political, it becomes a political game to balance your factional support base and so on. So if you look at how eager the ANC wanted to intervene in the very same city of Joburg when it was in the hands of the DA and during Mashaba's time also, you would realize that, did they have the basis to want to intervene, or was it also politics? So these provisions that are there, they are also, open for manipulation, because there is not a regulatory, what do you call this? There has not been a regulation to guide the intervention. And that is why I remember when I was still in government, we proposed a regulation for Section 100, so that they could be, you could say, here are the signals that says you need a mild intervention now. So we don't have that.
You're correct. 100. In fact, it could even be linked to the audit outcomes as well as the performance indices, because the Public Audit Act doesn't just look at financial management. It also looks at compliance with legislation and meeting annual performance plans and that kind of thing. So one of the criteria that gets used is whether the institution is now causing harm to the public. Right? Now, Buffalo City Metro has been found to be causing harm to the public for 2 years in succession because they're not able to prevent pollution of public lands, water, and that sort of thing, right? Now, here's what happens. MPs in whatever committee do you know who they ask, what are you doing about it? They ask the Auditor General.
They expect the Auditor General to...
The Auditor General has come to tell us
that there are problems.
They've come to ring the bell to say, hey, there are problems there. MPs say, but why are you not intervening? The whistleblowers. So what do you ascribe that to? And and the reason I was saying earlier I must be careful is because you can see the way that people engage. They're not being cynical, they're genuine. They really think the AG must intervene.
So, ignorance again.
So you sit there.
Is it ignorance or political will?
Malada, I often say to people, Parliament has a lot of good people. A lot of good people. I would even say the majority of them are good people, right? In Parliament, MPs. That's not matched by capacity, though. It's not matched by capacity. So it's not that people don't want to do the work. But the capacity to do the work in certain instances just isn't there. And you know what? I also don't blame them. Because people don't elect themselves. So I can't elect you, Malata, and then once you get there, I insult you for something. When I knew...
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
People may not know which MPs Rise Mzansi is going to field to Parliament.
I suppose.
They may vote for Rise Mzansi on the basis of the strength of the brand, not on the basis that they know 3 individuals or 10 that Rise Mzansi is sending to Parliament. So that's the weakness that we have. But I think you are touching on a very crucial point here. So do we need maybe to introduce a criteria, a merit-based criteria for leadership in Parliament?
So
for political office? Yeah.
I think that must be done at the party list level.
Okay.
It must be done at the party list level where there are certain minimum requirements and there can be proportionalities, right, that are given. I believe that the total list of MPs must reflect society. So it's a good thing that you have somebody who was a nurse in parliament, right? Because they bring a certain experience. It's a good thing to have somebody who was a cop, somebody who was a security guard, and so it's good to have those people. The balance, though, is important. You understand? Because parliament, as it stands, doesn't have enough accountants. I think if there are 5, there are too many in the whole of parliament to oversee 2.6 trillion. We are harming ourselves. So that's why I'm saying we need to put some proportionalities to say X% of your list should be people with at least the following, right? That at least begins to mitigate the problem.
So is Rise Mzansi going to be proposing some legislative reviews or tabling some new, legislation to change some of these things?
No, absolutely. In fact, there is already, it's a conversation that we're taking in steps. So you would have noticed that in the State of the Nation address and the statement of the GNU leaders from last year, we started talking about criteria for the appointment of people to boards of state-owned companies. It's a very big step.
People, but that is the administration.
I know, but yes. They are like, so I'm just saying, so we now getting, so that's one example of something we've placed on the table. It's now in the SONA and that process is going to kick. We're actually in the period of constitutional review right now. We are putting proposals through that process. And we're going to engage the public to say, listen, all of these things that you're complaining about, now is your time to make submissions to Parliament to say, in order to strengthen our constitutional system, these are some of the tweaks that we need to make in the system. That period is open. It ends, I think, at the end of April.
Okay, so that brings me to the point about electoral reform, which of course will have an impact on the constitutional provisions that are available. But there has been, you see, the system we have at local government level, where you have a mixed system. You can vote for an individual and vote for the party. Maybe shouldn't we be taking that to national so that you can actually vote, for instance, for a president, but at the same time you can vote for the party to have its proportional representation in parliament?
Yeah. In fact, I think it's one of the, not exactly in that form, because I think in the book I talk about needing to, don't want to use the word resuscitate, but the Slabbert Commission. The Slabbert Commission was very thoughtful. Yeah. The Slabbert Commission was very thoughtful because it had a mixed system of direct election as well as proportion to take account of various things like disability, etc., etc. That's why I was saying you need to make some of these interventions at the Electoral Act and so, but the Constitution needs to say. So that's one area where we can do reform. I also think that one of the things that's good about local government is people know who their councillor is, their constituencies. In our system, I know, for instance, because he's told me, Gwede, one of his constituencies is in KZN in Newcastle. He doesn't stay there. He goes there. He engages. He does constituency work, but he's not from there. I think it helps to know that Brutus is in parliament, my go-to guy is Brutus. And I'm going to phone Brutus and he needs to come back and do constituency meetings here so we can tell him. And we're going to watch how he votes on this issue that we've said. So the democratic accountability breaks. Here's a question. This system that we have is an outcome of the political risk that was being managed as part of the 94 settlement. Yeah. Those imperatives are not the same anymore. They're gone. Which goes to these constitutional reviews I'm talking about. It's why they're important. So I agree with you. Electoral reform.
It's one of
them. Yeah.
Okay. So we can expect that Rise Mzansi would be championing such kind of an idea. Okay. So you and I read the same book. You have already mentioned it, and the author Roberto Unga, talking about, dictatorship of no alternative, this and that. Rise Mzansi, where it is now, is Rise Mzansi a viable alternative for South Africa? And why?
Rise Mzansi remains a viable alternative. However, the strategy is very important because, and this is where our ideological model conversation comes in, right? And that is, the environment has changed. So where we set ourselves to as a position is exactly where I think Unga would be. It's where Brazil would be, and that kind of thing. And then you encounter real life, which is honestly, if you believe in a human rights culture, and I was mentioning the immigration thing, not to say it's not a problem, but to say when you come from a human rights culture, you also don't agree with extrajudicial actions, right? The two clash. You're just not able to be purist like that anymore because it means the people who agree with you 70% of the time have the 30% that you vehemently agree with on a level of principle. And so one of the things we've started doing now is consolidating with other political parties, which is where Unite for Change is, because we've always understood the project of change not to involve ourselves only, but to be partly a catalyst for building a bigger collection of political actors who drive a new progressive agenda.
Yeah, I am coming to the Unite for Change. But before that, Rise Mzansi, according to the declarations, financial declarations, it was generously funded for a new party. I was traveling in Tsanin at some point, and in my village, I could find a poster of Rise Mzansi, and I remember sharing that poster. I can't remember if I shared with you or if I shared with Kume or somebody else. But you had so much presence, yet the performance of the party, I think that it was low, the performance. Judging from the outcome of the elections, were you disappointed with the outcome?
We're disappointed with the outcome, and I can speak to the influencing factors. So the big thing in electoral politics is name recognition. If people don't know you exist, they won't even consider you on the ballot box. So the investment in posters was absolutely necessary, given that unlike the ANC, which has had over 100 years, the DA's been around, EFF 10 years, etc., you simply don't have the time. That right? So and we made some mistakes, by the way, location wise as well, which we can talk about. But it's name recognition. The question tactically is, where are you likely to have more recognition faster? Is it the leader of the party or the party itself? Now you then have, if you choose the leader, that takes far longer because people need to not just know what you look like, they need to have heard you speak. They need to have seen you govern. They need to trust you. You need to touch something in their lives, right? That takes time. So we went for name recognition for the party, which means people at least shouldn't ask themselves, what was this thing? I saw that logo. What was that thing? At least they know there is this political party called Rise Mzansi. So you would have noticed we never had billboards. Because billboards are expensive, right? So we never had billboards at all. We just went for posters. We didn't have TV ads. We didn't have a lot of radio ads as well. We just went for posters because a poster is at that spot repeatedly. If you miss a radio ad, you've missed it when it plays. So that was our choice that we made. EFF and others went for. So that's the same. But I must tell you, and I'll share an anecdote with you so you understand the problem. Where we could have a meeting of 400 people in KZN, once MKP came, that number became 60. And 10 of the people of that 60, they're telling you that they feel They came because they're guilty. Otherwise, everybody has gone
has
there.
gone, yeah.
Right? So we lost a seat and a half to 2 seats in eThekwini alone. We done lots of work. We had some massive events in KZN. But when MK, the other area is Orange Farm. If there'd been a by-election in one of the wards, I just forget now what it is in Orange Farm, during the election season, sort of in the 8 months, we would have won it. Amen. Came the split in the ANC. Gone. Pretoria North Side, similar problem. Realistically, we thought we could get 8 seats, which is like 2%. It's not a lot, but we thought realistically we could get it. We just saw them erode in front of our eyes because you could tell with the people that show up. Some of our people, we saw them wearing MK thingy at campaign stops, at shopping centers and so on. They greet and they're like, hey, hi, man, hey, we see a man. And MK didn't even have a manifesto. You know what it is? Name recognition.
Name recognition, yeah.
Don't have it.
Yeah. But what are you going to do differently this time around? I mean, the election season, we are going into local government elections.
So we, in terms of our strategy, we have a 2029 roadmap. That's important. All right? We now understand better the building blocks that you put in place in order to have a strong electoral performance in 2029. We see our local government participation in that context. Now, I said to you, we made some mistakes. In all honesty, we shouldn't have had a poster in your village. At all, actually. We should have had more posters in Joburg. We should have had a couple of billboards in Joburg and Tshwane and Buffalo City and so on, right? Focus on those areas. So we made some tactical mistakes which we're not going to make. Now, the advantage that we now have, which was a disadvantage then, we had no idea where our voters are. Nobody had voted for us before. We had nothing to defend. So we were a bit shooting in the dark. All new political parties do that. Now we know. So we might not be ubiquitous, but now we know where to go. So,
but that brings me to the earlier point you brought in, and I said we'll discuss it. The issue of uniting for change.
Yeah.
Where does that leave Rise Mzansi? Are you folding into uniting for change?
No, not yet. And here's why. So Unite for Change, what you have now is not the end. So there are political parties that need to have their own internal processes like a conference. So let me give you an example. So Good had a conference. I went and spoke at that conference. A formal resolution was taken to consolidate with other political parties. I won't name the other political parties. Some of them are in parliament. They need to get to conference, have a resolution. Then you're able to build a much bigger coalition than you actually do. So what you see with this local government election is what we're able to do at this point with Unite for Change. The point of convergence properly with other political parties will probably take another 8 to 12 months, given their internal processes, because those people need a mandate to then, take the steps. So it is a journey. It's not ideal, because we would have wanted everybody, well, let's say 90% of everyone, to be in the tent by December last year. It just didn't quite work out that way.
So those that are able to, take their own resolutions to be part of this, you will all be contesting elections under that banner.
So under that banner. Now, what we're able to do between 2026 and 2029 is to make final decisions about what happens to all the political parties. Because remember, our respective electoral mandates last until 2029. You can't fold before 2029. But South Africa's electoral system allows for dual membership.
Oh, okay.
It allows for dual membership. So you can be a member of Good and a member of Unite at the same time.
So you can be a member of MK and be a member of the ANC. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that one coming. I must say, I didn't see
But
that one coming.
okay, so one of the things, I mean, you probably have tackled this question many times. There are three leaders who are leaders in their own right. You've got Patricia de Lille, you've got Mzansi Mayoral, you've got yourself. I saw the press conference when you announced this idea. Now, the question that is in the minds of many is the question of leadership.
Who's the leader?
As to who will then be the face of this this Unite for Change, or it will be leaderless, or the question of leadership would be resolved after the mandates that you have that are for 2029.
It will be resolved after the mandates. And some of them may come during the course of this year, but it doesn't mean we have to campaign together. The local government elections, what's absolutely important is mayoral candidates. We have to have mayoral candidates. So we're going to start announcing from about 2 weeks' time, right? Because that becomes the chief spokesperson, the face of the organization in a local government context. What we've been doing since October is bringing our teams together so that they can have joint campaign structures at sort of at regional level, at least, because it's going to be a combined election campaign team, and in the regions you also need that to be available, right? So we've been doing joint events. So there's a process of change management that's been happening. The reason we have to be careful about the question of leadership. So you conclude the leadership question, and then another political party comes in. Now, what do you do? Right? So you can't say to them, well, you've got to accept what it is. Sorry for you. It's not going to. So
First come, first serve.
First come, first serve. And when your roadmap takes you past this election, maybe you shouldn't be so hasty. Again, it's one of those clumsy things that's not because in the public consciousness, people want to know who's your leader.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So the other question, which I think you should clarify, is how different is this from the moonshot of the DA and Action
They
SA?
were contesting each other. We are not.
Okay.
So
you will have a pool of mayoral candidates. It
Under
may be
Unite
that
for Change.
it may be that Unite for Change says Kumeramlipo is the best mayoral candidate for Joburg.
Yes.
And then you agree on that person, and
We
then
all support.
You all support.
Yes.
And then somebody else is nominated for Tshwane or Cape Town or whatsoever. Now,
in fact, I mean, because I've seen the short list of candidates for the city of Joburg, I mean, there are people nominated right from across the parties, right? Because people believe that your colleague so and so would make a good candidate, right? And that's what you want, because we also took votes. We split votes from each other.
Yeah,
we split votes.
But can we expect any of the leaders of these people who are uniting for change to be mayoral candidates?
No.
Oh,
none
okay.
of them. I can tell you now, none of them.
But we see the contest for Joburg. It's getting very, very seriously.
I can give you some clues. I haven't said this anywhere. The mayoral candidate, will be younger than 50. The mayoral candidate, for Joburg that is, the mayoral candidate will be younger than 50 years old. The mayoral candidate will have significant policy and, I would say, public sector governance, experience and exposure. The mayoral candidate for Johannesburg will bring a message to the campaign that I can tell you for mahala, no other political party will have, because of the way South African politics thinks about politics and how you message, right? And that candidate will not be held up by responsibilities elsewhere. Such as being a minister or chairperson of a portfolio committee.
Okay. So no Makashule Ghana.
No.
Okay. And
No
your
Songezo
leader,
Zibi.
your leader
No
in
Songezo Zibi.
the province.
No.
Okay. No, interesting. We'll be waiting because it is very clear that Joburg is going to be the center of this electoral contest. How has Parliament been?
Parliament has been...
Both for you as an individual and for the party itself.
So Parliament has been great. Mm-hmm. It's been rewarding. It's been frustrating. In equal measure, right? It's been great in the sense that we've been able to have an impact that bigger political parties don't. And I don't want to sound like I'm picking on MK, but you were mentioning Makashule Ghana, right? On gambling.
Yes.
What issue is MKP driving with their 54 or 57 MPs?
They're fighting each other.
But can you see, no, honestly, I mean, not to be cynical, right? What issue are they driving that is of a public benefit and public interest, because people really are struggling with it, right? Makashule Ghana is now, from a parliamentary perspective, the champion of the gambling issue. We even have a white paper from Treasury to tax online gambling companies more and raise about 10 billion. That came from Makashule Ghana's effort. So it's been great. So in my role, I'm chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament, which, outside of the president in South Africa, the chairperson of Scopa can hold anybody far beyond the president, municipalities, provinces, etc., because of the allocations from Parliament. Right? Voice was an MEC. We campaigned on food security. So the agriculture portfolio is not an accident. We need to go and prove, because one of the things, to your point about the electoral outcome, you can sound great, Malada, to people, but we haven't seen what you can do. I have less of that problem now. I meet random people and they say, hey man, if I didn't know about you, I'd never heard about you before the election. Now I do. So it's been a failure like that. But quickly on the frustration, Malada, that capacity issue is a problem. And I'm saying this with a lot of love and affection, but South Africans need to reflect, and political parties need to reflect and do something about capacity. People in Parliament work hard, Malad. I know MPs who read, who participate, who never miss a meeting, right? So people aren't actually being dirty like that, the way people would imagine. But you also see the struggles in other committees. You listen to committees as well. And you know that member is always here before the MP's bus gets here. That member is here. But that member is also missing the issue that is under discussion. South Africa suffers, Malata, as a result of that thing, man. The budget last year, there were lots of MPs who did not know how it's supposed to work. We would sit and have conversations about what's supposed to come next, because the ANC used to have a majority to just pass. MPs don't know that the finance minister was saying, once I table the budget, it's yours. You work on it and then come back to me. People are like, why is the minister bringing this proposal? I'm like, don't worry about it. You know that. So that's frustrating, because so much can be done and never gets done simply because Parliament doesn't recognize its own power. And development-wise, governance-wise, we are suffering as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I read a piece. I can't remember if it was Daily Maverick or Mail and Guardian. The recognition of the role that Makashule is playing on the anti-gambling issue. So better few, but better. You are a party that has 2 people in Parliament, and you are juggling all these committees and trying to make an impact, and yet you're getting that kind of recognition. So the quality of leadership matters. I think that's what we are, what you are saying. And it's interesting because, I mean, I'm studying, I'm doing my PhD, and the question I'm looking at is, whether education matters in political office. And it's interesting to hear you emphasize this point. Let's get into your Scopa role. And you are right, that committee is very, very important because as you describe it, it gives you access to everybody. Any department, any state-owned enterprise, you can say, bring your books here, let's see. And it's very strategic. But the question is, how do you use that to build the brand of Rise Mzansi out of that?
So first of all, I mean, the brand building is in the context of the committee. I have a very supportive committee. I mean, some chairpersons tell me what problems they have to deal with. Malada, I must tell you, we just work. I mean, there are instances where people are, playing silly politics, but it's like 3% of the case. 97% of the case, the members actually work. That's why we're at the highest attendance. How does that link to brand? So leadership is also the experience of the people that you work closely with. Right? People who otherwise, I guess, wouldn't have seen me kind of having bigger responsibilities, but they've got the experience of working with me. I think that's very important. Similarly with Makashule. Makashule has other responsibilities in Parliament, elected by other political parties. He's on the Chief Whips Forum, he's on the Ethics Committee, on the Programming Committee. He's elected by other political parties to go there. So just in terms of the reputation within the other MPs, that's important. The second thing is people now see the work that we do. 9 out of 10 times, when I meet someone I've never met at the shops or at the mall, they talk to me about committee work. You know how they call Makashule? They say, the gambling guy, man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the gambling guy. The guy who supports parties, the gambling guy, right? He's driving an issue that people relate to. That helps for Rise Mzansi a lot. The last thing I'm going to say is that we also get to show a different behavior. I know people are just being silly and bantering in the afternoon sometimes. We never get involved in that. And you know what? People appreciate that thing, Malada. They will come and say to me, how are you guys coping, man? Hey, we can say you guys are serious-minded. Now, that's important.
Yeah.
In the context of politics, that loses respect because of how politicians behave. And I think that will translate to electoral outcomes.
Okay. So, the previous chairperson of SCOPA, there was Themba Godi at some point.
It was a Deputy Minister Hlengwa.
Yeah,
before
then
me.
Hlengwa.
Yes.
So my observation is that the ANC has utilized very effectively a co-option strategy, and they tame those that end up working with them.
Yeah.
So Themba Godi was known as the chairperson of SCOPA, but it didn't really translate very much for his party, for the support of his party. So you would see the guy who is holding people accountable, and the credit would go to the ANC in somehow. And I didn't see much on the Hlengwa aspect, but I want to relate this also to what happened to Magwaza Msibi and what happened to Patricia de Lille, that they are working with the ANC sort of almost diluted their presence out in the public. Are you not worried that you may actually fall into the same trap?
So let me be careful how I answer this. So I don't want to comment on previous chairs, except to say I'm probably the first SCOPA chairperson to have the political balance of forces that I have.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by that?
11 members in the committee, only 4 from the ANC.
Oh, okay.
Nobody has a majority in that committee. That's why I said earlier we work. Right. So there's no rubber stamping, diluting of the agenda and that kind of thing anymore. So I want to say this will probably be the first real SCOPA since the arms deal. And it's not a credit to myself. It's just a political outcome. The ANC members on the committee, You know, we've got a delinquent here who didn't want to come to Parliament.
Yes, the is it
Road accident
fund? Yes.
You know, previously, maybe the ANC wouldn't have been so insistent on consequences. I must tell you, they're not playing. They reminded me, Isla, how is that criminal charges thing going? So what I'm trying to say is, honestly, I don't have these previous dynamics that the Temba Kodis had to deal
the
with.
political situation is different.
It's different.
Yeah.
That's number two. Me, I engage Malad, myself. Parliament is a TikTok account because of me.
Oh, okay.
You go to my TikTok. 90% of that content is what we're doing as Rise Mzansi. What we do at municipalities and so on. Because I think part of what happened is the people sit in Scopa. They get it, then they go to their own meetings as kind of the political party itself. I engage with the public directly a lot of the time. And yesterday I had about 1,800 people on TikTok talking about the budget.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. You are revolutionizing the platforms for engagement. At least, you will have participation of young people if you're using the kind of platforms that they
we
use.
Get so many students.
Yeah. That position, of course, it gives you this bird's eye view. How deep is the road?
It's deep. It's very deep.
Is it salvageable?
I think our final chance is 2029. If we get 2029 from an electoral outcomes perspective, then I have to say, Malada, I've thought about the fact that I may also be discouraged. The rot is deep. It's not just the stealing, right? It's maladministration. It's having the wrong people in positions. It's poor leadership. It's enormous financial losses that happen as a result of bad decisions that get taken. And South Africans obsess about corruption, and it's understandable because there's lots of it. We lose more to maladministration. We lose more to maladministration in the defense forces. Buy hundreds of millions worth of equipment. It's obsolete.
Underutilized or not utilized at all?
No. It's not suitable for the purpose. No strategic procurement taking place, right? The thing is ordered at a certain time. By the time it arrives, it's obsolete. And the people didn't know.
And yet we are very loud in saying we will not be bullied.
Right.
But we don't have anything to defend ourselves with.
The SNDF wouldn't be able to defend us against an organized enemy, right? So what I'm trying to say is the thing that worries me, and Malada, the people that have the capacity and the talent don't want to get involved with the public sector and politics. It's sad. I mean, we were at Buffalo City. I'll talk about Buffalo City because we're currently looking at them again now, right? I mean, Malada, I'm sorry. I mean, the political heads, they were trying to do the right thing, but no, some of them.
Hopeless.
No, Malada, they shouldn't be where they are.
They shouldn't be.
No, they shouldn't be where they are. Even when they're trying, they do the wrong thing. You know what I mean? So, what can I do? I mean, right, I'm going to have another TikTok tomorrow, possibly. Right?
Maybe we should have more of the bright, the thoughtful, the experienced professionals entering the political
space. Just 5 years, man. That's what I tell people. If you are 32, just do parliament, man, just for 5 years. You can go back to your career. But you are an accountant. Sit on the finance committee, man, and on the appropriations committee with Musi and so on.
Yeah, they are scared because, there is this thing that politics is dirty and you get bruised in politics. You will be name-called and labeled and so on.
It's a turn-off. So that's why I'm saying the rot is deep and I get depressed because I know good people simply say to me, hey, strength to you, my brother, man. Says Tembele kuni, man. But me, I'm not helping.
So, I mean, the emergence of Rise Mzansi in the whole, you know, political scene that is overly, you know, we have how many political parties? I can't remember. I thought that would have been the unique thing that Rise Mzansi was going to offer. Or let me say, the perception I had when Rise Mzansi launched was that it will be the home of professionals. It will be an organization that will attract more of, you know, the kind of Songezo who brings an experience of working in a mine, in a bank, in a
We
motor
are.
industry, and bring that experience
We
into
are.
politics.
We are. They just don't want to go to parliament.
Well, what can we do to stimulate interest?
I don't know. But I am nearly out of ideas because it does need an element of sacrifice, right? And people have got real responsibilities. I also do. And you get left behind for 5 years while you're in parliament. People look at it like that. I can go to parliament. Firstly, during the process of campaigning, I leave my job, right, to go and campaign. And then we don't win and I'm without a job.
Yeah, there
And
are those risks.
so there are risks. There are risks which make our democracy, which weaken our democracy overall, I think.
Just, I want you to talk about the delinquent road accident fund.
Yeah.
So that kind of behavior, is it just limited to that institution, or this thing of undermining parliament and undermining SCOPA, or the lack of accountability? Is it something that is across the board, or there are just some institutions or some individuals like the delinquent?
No, it's individuals in institutions. Most institutions have no problem coming to a counter parliament, even if they don't want. They are scared. They still come, right? And one of the things we agreed as a committee from the beginning is, guys, we can be tough, but let us make sure people live with their dignity intact, because they are mothers, leaders of the church. You don't want to humiliate them. And we are constructive in our approach. The members always try and solve the problem together in the institution. At the Road Accident Fund, you had an audit which was a certain leadership style, which infested the organization. And the organization took on a delinquent stance, which is why you then had the conflicts with the former CEO eventually, not being brought back and that kind of thing. But it's not common, no. The people do come, Shane. As scared as they are,
Yeah.
they still come.
Okay. No, that's good, because I would be worried about consequence management. I would be worried about accountability, and linking up to the earlier conversation whether this ship can be rescued or not.
Yeah.
If you have that kind of culture of not wanting to account, then Parliament would be toothless. If you can't summon people to come to Parliament to account. Let's conclude with the issue on the GNU.
Yes.
Will this budget pass, this year's budget?
Yeah, it will.
It will. You're confident?
Yeah, the process has been better managed this time. It's not just the budget, by the way. We started with the leaders summit. The finance minister presented already then. Then you saw that the medium-term budget kind of had no glitches at all. With SONA, it was a direct outcome of the leaders thing. And so I don't expect any difficulties this time at all.
Yeah, I'm saying this because you saved, you saved South Africa on the VAT impasse. And although there are others that are taking credit for it, we don't know who did most of the lobbying that resulted in the the impasse being broken. What was actually going on behind the scenes? Do you care to share?
Yeah, I will share. I mean, within reasonable limits, right? But I'll share more than I've shared before in public, right? Firstly, there was a DA fighting for leverage with the finance minister because they had been outmaneuvered in the cabinet selection. So, for example, where they had a minister, they didn't know that the ANC would put 2 deputy ministers there. Right now, you look at the whole size of cabinet, they're like, right? So there was some of that, and some of the demands on the finance minister were not things that he could do anything about. But they'd also decided, well, he comes from the ANC, he must go and talk to his president, and they must solve it, right? So there was an element of that. That is why in my speech I said that, this was for us about freeing the finance minister from being a hostage, right? So I think it's important to understand that. I'd like to talk about, in a way that I haven't before, spoke about our specific role, right? So we knew that the number that the finance minister needed to get to withdraw VAT was not a lot. I mean, others were talking 800 billion and so. No, the number was like, if you got between 50 and 70 billion, you were good. You were good. And I also knew that if SARS got the resources that they were looking for, they were having a strong revenue pipeline from Gauteng, from KZN, and so on, in certain areas of revenue collection within SARS, and that this was entirely doable. But the political problem was this, which is where my intervention specifically was behind the scenes. Because the DA wanted John and CR to have a press conference and say they've reached a deal. So I said, if that happens, the markets will never trust a finance minister again. We need to provide a pathway for the finance minister to still make the decision. Otherwise, forget. When he tables the budget next, nobody's listening to him. They're going to wait for John and CR to say something. So that was important, right? So I reached out to someone very senior in the African National Congress, not in government. I'll tell you offline who it was. Not in government. I reached out to that person. I was actually on my way to Sandton at the time. I phoned him and I said, listen, this is my thesis. So if we give the finance minister this pathway, that he makes the announcement, because we can find the money from elsewhere, then it's possible to fix many different things, including the credibility of the treasurer. He said, you know what? Incidentally, I am seeing him tonight. I will test the idea. Of course, I mean, which self-respecting finance minister wants somebody else to make an announcement? Of course not, right? So it was important that we protect the credibility and independence of the treasury in that way. The finance minister has to buy in on the solution. And the conversations got to a point where the finance minister, if you remember, from the US, he made the announcement of what's going to happen. The other problem, which I must admit, in proposing the solution, I had not noticed that once the proposals have been put on, the tax proposals, then they're valid for a year unless a court sets it aside. So it became necessary then for Parliament to abide by the decision and for the thing to be uncontested and it's made an order of the court. It then allows an orderly retreat out of the impasse. Right,
Yes,
so it was a little bit complex, right? Where I was annoyed is that those who are proposing that the finance minister must be sidelined, where is your care for what happens to the country as a result of that outcome? Why don't you care about what happens institutionally? In fact, if you look at the joint statement of the political parties when the announcement was made, it was Makashule Ghana and I who insisted that all the parties need to affirm The independence of the treasury, independence obviously within the context of the constitution. They're not freelance, right? But we affirm the credibility and independence of the treasury in the context of the constitution. So that's the role that we played. While everybody else was making statements, making threats and that kind of thing, that's the work that we did in the background.
Okay, so with that, having played that role, and if, as it is the nature of politics, we are on the second year of the GNU. We still have a long way to go. There could be some reshuffles along the way. Will Rise Mzansi join the GNU?
No, we are in the GNU. No, we are in the GNU.
Oh, yes.
We are in the GNU. We wanted these roles, SCOPA roles, for a reason.
Or as your condition of
No, it wasn't a condition. We made it clear that we're not making a ministry the condition of our participation. Mm-hmm. But the Standing Committee on Public Accounts role is very important. It was either that or finance.
Yeah. I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, if there was an offer for a cabinet post, can we expect that a Rise Mzansi, Makashule or Songezo Zibi could become a minister or deputy minister in cabinet?
We would look at that carefully, depending on the context. I mean, the work that we're doing right now, at least that I'm doing in this committee, is very important. So it's important because oversight is very poor in South Africa, and I think we're on a good wicket as a committee, all of us. But that's a bridge that we would get to. But what I can tell you, we wouldn't just take it for its own sake. A deputy minister role is rather unhelpful. Ultimately, people have to say how you govern.
Yes.
That's what helps you. So if we can make a difference in a ministry and people can see what we do when we're given an executive responsibility, it helps at election time. Yeah. Because people have now seen you in parliament, they've also seen you delivering as a minister. It's not just name recognition now, it's trust. Yes. Where people say, we've seen these people in parliament, we've also seen them as ministers, we think. So it's not something that we would dismiss. We would look at it carefully.
Parting shot.
Yes.
What is your message to South Africans? We are entering an election season. You've been playing a significant role in Parliament as chairperson of SCOPA. I want to give you an opportunity to say something to the public. What is that message that you wish South Africans can hear?
Is two things. One, elections matter. I know that South Africans are cynical, they're angry, they're disappointed, but not participating in elections to effect the change is the worst thing that we can do. So people need to persist with democracy. If you're not registered, register to vote. If you're cynical about politics, even with that cynicism, go and exercise your power. So that is the first thing. The second thing is, if Rise Mzansi's 2 MPs and 1 MEC show you anything, is that 10 to 20 MPs in Parliament can do a lot. And next time when you hear Rise Mzansi, keep that in mind.
Thank you very much, Songezo, and good luck to Rise Mzansi. We really appreciate your participation in our podcast. We look forward to engaging with you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.